Hello and welcome to the astrological forecast for October 2023. If you like the video, then press the like button and please become a subscriber. So this video will look at the planets that are going to be dominating October 2023 and the planets that perhaps are going to be less of an influence. It's a really interesting month. We've got a couple of eclipses to get through, as well as the planets changing zodiac signs. So I'm recording this on the 1st of October, so happy October. Okay, so we're well into the season in the Northern Hemisphere of autumn. And as we start the month, we have Mercury near the end of its cycle in Virgo. We have Leo near the end of its cycle with in Leo. We got Mars in, again, the end of the cycle at 22 degrees in Libra. We've got Saturn retrograde at 1 degree in Pisces. Uranus at retrograde 22 degrees in Taurus. Neptune at the end of Pisces 25 degrees. And Pluto at the end of Capricorn 27 degrees. There's quite a familiar theme going on here, which is the planets at the end of the zodiac signs, or the last decans of the zodiac signs, which is kind of interesting. I always think the last decan of the zodiac signs has less power in a way than it being at the beginning. And that has to do with the decan sub-rulerships, but also I think that it's like being in a room for a certain period of time and then looking towards another room and going, well, I'm going to enter that room. So it's a time of transition for the zodiac signs. And actually, I think there's going to be kind of some good movement. I think that the main one would be the Venus, because around about the 10th of October, because Venus has been in Leo for some time, obviously went through its retrograde period. It goes into Virgo. No, Venus isn't happy in Virgo. It's a little bit fussy, that combination, and a little bit kind of takes things really kind of seriously. And Venus is the planet of how we relate and social activity. So it becomes very meticulous. Mercury, just before that, about the 6th or 7th, goes into Libra, which is diplomacy, balance, looking at communicating by looking at different opinions, different viewpoints, which I think could be quite good from a diplomatic or governmental kind of rulership. But I suppose the big one is the Mars, because we've had Mars in Libra, and Mars is detriment in Libra, not very happy. It's like talking before you're thinking about what you're about to say. It's a difficult combination. And around about the 12th, the 13th, depending on where you are, Mars will go into Scorpio, its traditional ruler. So suddenly Mars could actually begin to function. Suddenly Mars can do stuff. And I really like Mars in Scorpio. I actually prefer it to Aries because, of course, from a traditional point of view, Mars is a nocturnal planet. So and you'd say that Scorpio is a nocturnal kind of sign. So in that respect, its power lies in going underneath and extracting kind of information or extracting power, and then externalizing it in a focused way. Because remember, Scorpio is a fixed sign, so that's determination, that's the ability to see things or completions. So I really like kind of Mars. And I think that that's a really nice combination. If you're in a sort of Mars perfected year or a Time Lord year, then you're really going to feel that kind of energy. Consequently, if your sun sign is Scorpio or your ascendant is Scorpio, then you're really going to feel a kind of a bit of a zip about you, a little bit of a kind of feeling of, right, okay, I've got this energy behind me. I've got this focus. I've got this determination. I've got this need to complete tasks. I've got this need to be a bit more ambitious in my thinking. It's really, really kind of good. We've got Jupiter retrograde, starts at 14 degrees in Taurus, and sort of at the end of the month is at 10 degrees in Taurus. Those mid-Taurians, born between the kind of 1st of May and the 4th of May, really kind of getting a lot of Jupiterian energy, but maybe it's kind of conserving it. At the same time, if you're born a Scorpio between the 1st and the 5th of November, then Jupiter's opposite you. So again, it's really kind of looking at the whole aspect of, are you doing too much? Are you thinking too big? Or is opportunities around you that haven't quite fallen into place but are about to? Consequently, again, if you're an Aquarius, born sort of the 1st of Feb to around about the 4th, 5th of February, then, there's a lot expected from you. And it's the same with the Leos as well, but born 1st of August to the sort of 5th of August. There's a lot of expectation coming from you, and there's a lot of opportunities. But again, just be careful. They may be too much at this particular time. So let's talk about the solar eclipse on the 14th, 21 degrees in Libra. That's an interesting one. Obviously Libra being an air sign, the ruler of the 7th house, which is the house of relationships. It's an interesting one because of that 21 degree point. There's a real significance of the last couple of months with 21 degrees. Again, it's just in the last decan of the sign. If we take the kind of the modern aspect of that, the modern rulership of it is sub-ruled by Mercury. That kind of puts an interesting slant on things, because I think that when we look at that period of the 14th, we've got some interesting kind of aspects going on. Mercury is going to make an applying conjunction to that solar eclipse, about 5-6 degrees applying, but Mercury being a sub-ruler of Libra, that's kind of really kind of interesting in terms of how we communicate effectively with others during that period. But also you've got Uranus as well. Now, it's not at 21 degrees in Taurus, but it's at 22 degrees, which forms a quincunx aspect, which is kind of uncomfortable, or in a traditional sense, they're kind of in aversion to each other, which is kind of like the not being able to see each other. And I think this is kind of interesting because, of course, Taurus is ruled by Venus, as is Libra. And during this particular time, Venus is in, the early degrees of Virgo, which it doesn't really function well. So I'd expect this to be a little bit of an uncomfortable kind of couple of days around the 14th, sort of 13th, 14th, 15th, really, in terms of personal relationships, in terms of how we communicate effectively. I just kind of think that's a kind of an interesting kind of time period. Not like big dramas, but more uncomfortableness about it that I think is going to come from that particular period. Thankfully, Mars has gone into Scorpio, but remember, Mars is very direct, and in Scorpio, it's even more direct. So you've got this kind of energy that is really quite powerful. And as we kind of go on the 24th, Mercury will go into Scorpio. So again, we'll get into the Scorpion season. About the 23rd, the sun goes into Scorpio. So we're really kind of reaching into that kind of energy of that scorpionic kind of thing that's going on. Just forgot to say, but I'm just going to go back slightly here. Around about the 10th, 11th, also Pluto goes direct, which of course is the modern ruler of Scorpio. So Pluto's going direct to 27 degrees. So, Pluto's been really kind of retrograde, since May of this year. So that Pluto moving forward is actually really, really good. And of course, it's hurtling towards going back into Aquarius in January. So that's a really kind of significant movement. Then on the 28th, we've got a partial lunar eclipse at 5 degrees in Taurus. And again, we're back into that Taurian energy that we've been dominated by so far this year by Jupiter and Uranus being in there. It's at 5 degrees, which is kind of interesting. At that particular point, it's not it's not opposite Mars. Mars is sort of moving away around about 11, 12 degrees. I mean, it's an opposition depending on how many orbs you want to use, but it's not direct. I'm not too bothered about that at that particular time. But what we do have is we have Mercury quite close to an opposition to that lunar eclipse. And again, Mercury is the planet that is the dominating planet, I feel, for October. It's the planet that kind of is circulating around and making things happen, but it's short, sharp bursts. And how we communicate with others and how we put our ideas across is something that's going to be a big, big theme of October. And I think a lot's going to happen in October. It will feel like a month that things are just moving very, very quickly. Whereas I think, September is a bit kind of bitey in a way. Well, things weren't kind of happening in the right way. October, things are going to move. And because you're back into the eclipse season, because you're back into that Taurus energy that we've had, because the North and the South Node have recently been transiting through those signs, and now that are in, of course, Aries and Libra. But it's kind of interesting that the Mercury becomes the player. And when Mercury becomes the main player, it means that basically that the month moves fast and that things happen. It's a very commerce, buying and selling sign. So it might even feel a little bit Mercury retrograde at times during this. So just to be kind of very aware of that. But things are kind of moving forward. Saturn is being quiet. It's at 1 degrees in Pisces. So if you're born very early degrees in Pisces, 19th, 20th, 21st of February, then you're hit by Saturn's energy, which is self-discipline, structure, duty, and planning long-term, that's what I say. But yeah, it's an interesting month, but a lot will happen during this month, and quick snap changes will come in, particularly from governments or people in charge. Anyway, like I said, press the like button if you like the video and become a subscriber. And thank you very much for watching. I'll speak to you all soon.